But I want to ask you something, because this is a theme we've talked about before, particularly as parents. And this is something, I got a daughter, she's 3, so I got time to figure this out. But what I love about your story is you basically came from nothing, and then, you ended up becoming a Super Bowl champion, creating financial stability. You're now a family man, right? And I just love to see guys that make it doing it the right way and through just fucking hard work, particularly in today's society where, there's all this entitlement and victim mindset. And it's like, no, if you apply yourself and you bust your ass, you can create a good life for yourself. But as we know, what do they say? Good times create weak men. You know what I mean? The sequence, right? Yeah. You've created, financial security and a good life for your family, as Tony, you and I have as well. And so I want to ask you, as a father, how do you instill the values in your kids that were the values or that were the reason you were successful? Because I think we all instinctually want to make our kids' lives easier, right? You want to be comfortable. And as Ren gets older, I have to figure out, okay, how do I make her life hard so that she's resilient, but not like hardship? You know what I mean? 100%. And I have no idea how I'm going to distinguish that, because for me, it was mowing lawns growing up. And, I mowed lawns from like 7th grade through junior in college. And every weekend, 80% of my weekend, I was out behind a push lawnmower mowing like 20 lawns in a weekend, right? And that was just the values that were instilled in us as kids of like, hey, there's no handouts here, get your ass out there and work. And then when I wasn't doing that, I was in the weight room or playing football or baseball or whatever it was, going to sport. So I'm so glad I had that, because I think that instilled the values in me that made me successful later on. But it still sucked. I hated it. So I guess, have you thought about this, man, with your kids? Because you could give them everything they ever wanted, right? And give them the easiest life. And that probably is great through maybe when they're 22 and they're out, but then they get out of college and they maybe don't possess the tenacity and the life skills to go out there and get it on their own. And to me, that's a very dangerous thing. And I don't know what the answer is. I just didn't know if you've thought about that at all from your side. And
I think it's something I think about every day. Because first of all, the first goal is to break the cycle that wasn't, because my mother was an abused child, and then she just continued that abuse. She just continued that cycle. And it was like, okay, so how do I don't have a blueprint for what it's supposed to look like, but I know what it's not supposed to look like. Right. So it's like, I think there's a difference between creating adversity and creating trauma. Right. So like there was a lot of trauma in my childhood. It was like neglect, trauma, abuse. Like that was like so I know that I'm already providing a much better life than I had for her. Right. But when it comes to just like teaching them how to, especially with girls, man, it's tough, because anytime there's a problem, I want to be on it and help her right away. Right. It's like instinct to do that, but it's not necessarily good to just like fix every problem that they have. So teaching her right now, what we're working on, what I work on her with is like, she's like a perfectionist already at 4.5 years old, and everything has to be perfect or she's like pissed and like wants to stop doing it, and it doesn't matter what it is. If we're shooting basketball or if we're practicing, like she loves like volleyball for some, like she's only 4.5 and like wants to play volleyball already. She loves soccer, she loves sports, and she loves gymnastics, but if she's not good at it right away, she gets like really frustrated. So now what I work on with her is, look, like, we're not going to quit. I force her to keep doing it. Like, you're going to keep doing it. I don't care how mad you are and how much you don't want to do it, because I see how she reacts when she finally gets it. Like, I'll just give you a small example. We're in the backyard 2 days ago, right? And we were taking shots with the basketball, but she like wanted to shoot it from like this certain point and wasn't able to make it, like wasn't able to get the ball there. And she just kept going and was getting so mad and frustrated, threw herself on the ground. I was like, come on, get up, we're going to keep going until you get it. And then when she finally got it, that's when I praised her. I gave her a ton of praise when she finally got it. And then I'm seeing it, like doing that over and over again with her. I'm seeing her like quit less and less. Because once you let your kids quit, it's easier for them to just quit everything, right? So anything hard, they'll just quit. And I think that's what's happened with society now, is that the gentle parenting, right? You can gentle parent, but also still be like stern and create core values that are, the principles behind like my parenting style are, look, we're going to work hard. Like, you're going to put your effort. I don't want to coach effort. If I have to like tell you to try hard, then there's a problem. Then I've failed somewhere. Right. Like I learned that from coaches. Coaches always told me, I don't ever want to coach effort. So I always made sure that my effort was never a question, right? I was never going to, we call it a loaf in football, you know that, right? So I never wanted to see a loaf on my in film, right? I don't care how many snaps I played. I'm not going to loaf. I'm going to run to the ball as hard as I can every time. So that's like that. That's the mentality that I try to instill in her. We're going to try as hard as we can every time. And then if you keep doing it over and over again, because she was like, I was like, you have to keep practicing. She's like, but I've done it like 100 times. And I was like, you have to do it 400 times. You might have to do it 1,000 times, you know, and at 4.5 for her to like see that register in her head, like, oh, okay. And then see her finally get it. It's like, oh, okay. You know, it's like, you know, she was working on her cartwheels and trying to get her legs straight on her cartwheels. Right. And she was like getting so frustrated with it, but I just made her keep doing it over and over and over again. Now she does them like it's nothing. And I was, you know, so that's the way I parent. And whenever there's a small problem, right, like she can't find something, right? She's looking for something in her little playroom, can't find it. When she was really young, I would go in there and find it for her. Now I like force her to find it herself. I'm like, no, you're not going to give up. You're going to find it. And I make her do it because I see if it's something that makes you frustrated and then you grind through it, whatever it is, it could be something so minute as like finding her little Elsa dress that she has to find, you know, and then so when she finally finds it, I'm like, see, if you just keep looking for it, you're going to find it, you know? So like, you just teach them not to quit. You know, as soon as things get hard, you can't quit. That's when you have to like really press a little harder, you know, because if not, you can't be afraid to fail, right? You can't, I teach her like just because you failed the first time doesn't mean you're going to fail the 100th time. You might fail 99 times and that 100th time you might get it, you know? And that's life, man. I struggle with that now, you know, with the life that the career path that I've transitioned into with the podcasting and the filming my hunts and, you know, putting out content, being a content creator. Sometimes that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. And I'm like, you know, you're battling bullshit with like Instagram and they want to, you know, shadow ban you and all this other shit. And it's like, if I just say fuck it and just do what I want to do and make it fun and don't worry about the bullshit, then that's what I'm doing it for. Right. I'm lucky enough to have set myself up financially to where I don't have to worry about that, but I still like want to be the best at whatever it is I'm doing. So I get frustrated easy. And some days I'm like, you know what, man, fuck this. I'm not doing it anymore. And then it's like, hold on, man, can you imagine telling your kids that you quit because it was hard? Like, I can't imagine telling my daughter that, like, oh, hey dad, how come you didn't do that? Oh, because it was hard. Well, then how the fuck is she going to ever respect anything I say? She won't, because she'll be like, oh, well, if dad can quit, then I can quit. Because in her eyes, I'm Superman. You know what I mean? I am like her hero. So if I just like live by that and do those things, which some days it sucks, man. Like I don't feel like doing shit. Like I don't want to, you know, have this random meeting or do this, you know, just small things that just fucking irritate me, you know, and trying to like keep my calm, right? Because if she sees me overreact, then she's going to think it's okay to like throw a fucking fit every time something gets hard, you know? So I don't know, man. I try to do everything I can to like break the cycle from the things that I saw, you know, even if it's like, you know, anybody that's in a relationship knows that there's days where you want to fucking rip each other's heads off. You know, it's just like, that's just the way it goes. So like, I try to make sure that, you know, even if my wife gets elevated, I don't reach that elevation. I try to stay calm and keep my cool. Right. Because I don't want my daughter to think it's okay for a man to yell at her and scream and yell, or even fucking get in her face and do all that shit. Like I try to do everything I can to not do that, because I saw the opposite of that. You know, I saw my stepdad tossing my mom through walls and shit, you know? So it was like, I knew what that did to me as a kid, and I don't want her to go through that. So that's the change that I'm trying to make.